Alright everybody, welcome to another Ink and Paint Club movie review here on the Ink and Paint Club channel. As always, I'm your host JD, and with us for the third week in a row, we have Gary.
Gary's back. Back again.
Oh god, no. And, back from one of our other Digimon reviews, Janette is back.
Long time no talk.
Right? I feel awful. As is tradition around here, we're here to talk about the latest Digimon Adventure Try movie. Because those seem to be our highest viewed videos, which I am ecstatic that that is the case. So that just, the fourth movie, subtitled Lost, just came out over the weekend here, and the three of us sat down and gave it a watch. And as in my case, I was counting down the minutes to leave work so I could go home and watch it. Because I'm excited for these movies. But just to get us started here, I think we'll go around and give some initial impressions, just some bare bones first reactions to this movie. Janette, how did you feel about this movie?
There's parts of it I like, but for the most part, I feel like I'm trapped in a bad fan fiction.
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah. Gary, what did you think?
A lot of confusion. I have to go back to the wiki a lot, and for the longest time, I thought this was going to be the last movie. So I was really, really confused on how they're going to end this in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's... I have my same kind of problem with this movie as I did with the second movie, where I feel like this movie was just a lot of filler. Am I alone on that?
I feel like it was a lot of filler, but the filler was the best parts. Like, when you get back to the story, it doesn't work that well, but the filler is actually emotionally touching, and I really connected with that. So I can't say I have a problem with that. I have a problem with the actual story instead.
Sure. But speaking of story, essentially this movie picks up immediately after the last movie, where the digital world has been rebooted. All the Digimon in the digital world have no memory. Basically everything starts at square one for them. And all the Digidestined go back to the digital world to reconnect with their partners, and there's a lot of feels.
So many feels.
And we get introduced to this big overarching mystery now, and I'm thoroughly confused about it. So yeah. So I'll just get this out of the way right now. My biggest problem with this movie, other than the fact that it's trying to set up like this mysterious new bad guy, it basically puts us back at square one by the end of the movie. Because the whole point of, this big lead up to the digital world reboot was about like, oh, they're going to go back and they're going to have no memories. They got to reforge their bonds and all that stuff. But by the end of the movie, like, everyone's friends again. They're, being able to digivolve into their megas. And it's like, okay, well, we're exactly where we started at the end of the last movie. So it's like, why... What was the point of this movie then?
I think it's just for the story purposes. They had to have the reboot happen. They had to say, and I don't know if previously in Digimon mythology they stated what a reboot was and they had to stick with that. But that's my guess. It really felt like with this movie, though, that there was a lot in the beginning that could have been chopped out if this is where we were going.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we kind of, for this movie, I think we kind of get some context for the reboot. So, basically, my understanding of the reboot is that, what is the government? I can never remember the two adults that they're hanging out with now. Do you guys remember what their names were?
I don't think they were ever said in this movie.
No, they were said. I just can't remember.
Okay, it's Himikawa. Sorry, I'm bad with Japanese names. Himikawa is the and Nishijima, which are the two government people that they've the Digidestin's been hanging out with now. So this movie starts out with a flashback to before the Digidestin came to the digital world, because it shows the government people as kids in the digital world. And my understanding is that the government woman, Himikawa's Digimon, was sacrificed by the Digimon Sovereign in order to defeat the Dark Masters the first time. So when they get back to the real world, Himikawa, having lost her partner because it was sacrificed, she basically figures out that if she reboots the digital world, her partner will come back. And so I think that's kind of what this has all been leading up to, is like this is why the reboot had to happen, because like she's been like in the background trying to make this happen.
Right, for her own selfish purposes.
Right. But and even then it's like it's confusing, because now we're being introduced to this new bat guy in the background called Yggdrasil, which I don't know if either of you guys watched Data Squad, because I didn't watch a lot of it.
I haven't.
But
Nope.
I swear the bad guy of that was called Yggdrasil, so it's like, are they carrying over the bad guy from that? And I feel like this movie brings up a lot more questions than it answers.
It's a little too lore heavy. I feel like it should stand. I know it's a sequel film thing, but a lot of these things needs to stand on its own, especially when the stuff that they refer to is not in the previous movies, but in the previous series years before then.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I mean, this film series is very much for people who are fans of the old show, because there's a lot of stuff in here, because Melanie was watching this with me and she has like zero context for any of this. Like, we watched like the first half of the first season, so she like knows what Primary Village is, and she knows who Hackmon is, and she knows who all the like the partner Digimon are. But like when Machine Digimon and Metal Sea Digimon show up, or when the Sovereigns show up at the first beginning of the movie, she has no idea what any of that is. And even then, I'm like, the Sovereign stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, that was a thing.
The only reason I knew the Sovereign stuff is because I played the Digimon DS game and they appear in it. It's like each one is for each rank and stuff, and that's the only reason I know.
Yeah.
I remember them, but I feel like that they need a better introduction, because the Primary Village and all those other locations, they're just little Easter egg. They don't preclude, like, they're not important to the plot. They're just there.
Nah.
They're just a setting. But
Yeah.
the Sovereign, the big bad that they have to refight again, like, who are they? If like for people who just haven't watched it in a long time, like since they
Yeah.
were kids, or who are new to the series.
I mean, even in this continuity, which the adventure continuity, Azulongmon, who's the big blue dragon, he was the only Sovereign that ever showed up. They didn't show you the other three Sovereigns till Tamers, where they went to Digital World and found those guys. So even for people who are only fans of the first two seasons and didn't watch anything else, those other three Sovereigns, you're not going to even know what they are. Like, I couldn't even remember half their names. Like, I don't think I remember the name to the big tiger, but I don't know.
I just like the turtle with trees on him.
I love Ibanwumon. He's weird. And even that's kind of like not explained, because it's like what happens is like Himikawa and Nishijima are like fighting the Dark Masters, and then they have like this team of Digimon or whatever, and those four of the Digimon evolve into the Sovereigns, and then the Sovereigns use their power to sacrifice Himikawa's Digimon, and it's like, okay, why was that a thing that needed to happen?
Were they like the part of the first set of Digidestin? Because I remember in the series that they said that they were not the first.
Yeah, now that you say that, I do remember that. There was an episode of the first adventure series where Genni is sitting them down. It's like, you guys aren't the first people to be here. There was a team before you. And I'm pretty sure that's what he's talking about, is that Himikawa and Nishijima and whoever else. I think there were a couple more that they never mentioned. I think they're supposed to be the team that came before them. Which I guess is kind of nice. Again, it's like one of those things where longtime fans are going to know what that means, but people who are literally just watching this series are going to have no idea what that's about.
Yeah, I really feel like this series was meant to be like a 52 anime series, and they're just crunching it into these movies, and there's a lot being cut out, there's a lot being rushed, there's a lot they're telling instead of showing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
And they're not even telling a lot. If they have more telling, it'd still be better.
yeah, yeah, like we keep saying, this series on the whole, like, really relies on you knowing what a lot of this already means. But so as a lot of these movies are like, they focus on a certain one of the Digidestined. So like the first movie was Ty's movie, the second movie was Mimi and Joe's movie, the last movie was Izzy's movie. So this is Sora's movie. And there's something I don't quite understand, because when all the Digidestined go back to the digital world after it's been rebooted, and they re-meet their partners, they have to basically, forge their relationship again, which I get. But, like, every one of the partners more or less acts the same as the last time, except for Sora's partner, who is being a complete bitch this time.
yeah, I was like, I didn't think that was Bergemon's person, or however you say her name. I'm sorry, but I didn't think that was her personality at all. The way she was acting.
Yeah. I was so confused, because, like, the first time, I mean, it's kind of a weird role reversal, because, if I remember right, when Sora and her partner met for the first time, she was like, this weird thing is just following me, and it's like, she was having a hard time, forging a relationship with her, because she has, like, that weird emotional scarring with her mom or something. Sora's just had a lot of emotional issues. But it's like weird because it's this time around, because Sora is actively trying to forge a relationship with her partner, but Biyomon is like not wanting any of it. So, and there's no real explanation for why that is. It's just like, because we need Sora to be the focus of this movie, we're gonna put strife between her and her partner, and even that's kind of resolved kind of roundabout way. It's just like kind of out of nowhere. It's just like, okay, I like you now.
Yeah. Well, I think
I
with
don't
the
know.
memory things, like, with being erased, they have to conclude in this movie, or else it's just gonna be, they're not gonna have any room for whatever plot they want for the next movie. I mean, granted, they still don't have memory, but at least they have their relationship between the Digidestined and their Digimon back.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it was nice seeing everybody, kind of reconnecting with their Digimon, and be like, they're basically like the Digidestined are basically telling their partners like how their relationship used to be, and the partners basically trying to come to grips with that. But yeah, it's so weird that they decided that, Sora and her partner were going to have problems, even though no one else seemed to be having problems. And then there's this bit where Machine Dramon attacks from fucking nowhere. Like, they're just sitting around and the ground explodes and Machine Dramon just comes out of fucking nowhere.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Okay, I just gotta get this off. It just makes me mad beyond belief. They're just like, this guy's evil because he's evil now. And that's literally the explanation. And that just made me so mad.
Yeah. Wait, Machine Dramon's evil now, or?
The guy who was riding him.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I did want to talk about that. So, for the last couple movies, we've been getting like, Ken's the Digimon Emperor again, and he's the one going around fucking up. So at the end of the last movie, we saw Ken again, and he's talking to Himikawa, and he transforms into young Genni, except with a black coat. So I'm like, oh shit, Genni's the one fucking up stuff. Maybe he's evil now. And in this movie, they say that he's not either of those guys. He's like a servant of this Yggdrasil guy, and he's just um, disguising himself as that because it makes it easier for him to go between worlds, I guess. That's the explanation he gave.
Okay, here's the thing. Right now, I could buy he's the he who's this guy again? The name of it again? God.
Genni.
Genni, that's it. Genni. Yeah, I can still buy it, but then with Ken in the earlier movie, there is absolutely no story reason for him to disguise as Ken. They didn't make a big deal. They didn't try to get the season 2 Digidestin in. They didn't try. Like, there's nothing related to Ken that would make sense in the context of this movie.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I kind of feel like they did that is because at the beginning of the first movie, they showed that, like, the season 2 Digidestined are, I don't know if they're dead or if they're just were captured or something. They're not around.
They'll get better.
I hope so. I hope there's a reason that they're brought back in, but I think the whole putting Ken as the Digimon Emperor again was kind of just a bait and switch, like, oh, maybe they're not dead, or maybe they're, maybe they're evil now or something, but
It's not a good bait and switch.
well, no, it's not, because even Genni or whatever his name is, he says that the only reason he's disguising himself as Ken or Genni is because it makes it easier for him to go back and forth between the real world and the digital world, which, like you said, Gary, that's not a good reason for that.
Well, but at least if Genni, if they started out as Genni instead of Ken in the first few movies, at least you can still see that he's one of the digital human that was from the original series. He has certain power that other people don't. At least that's a little more believable. While Ken already has his whole arc thing already finished in O2.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. It's like, as soon as they showed him transform into Genni, like, the whole point of him disguising himself as Ken is kind of redundant and kind of pointless.
He wasn't using the Ken persona either. Like,
No.
if they erect that whole obelisk again and all this other stuff,
Yeah,
at least
he was
use
just
that as a misdirect.
right.
Yeah. The whole
And
purpose
I-
was. Oh, I'm
Go ahead.
sorry. The
No,
whole
you
purpose
got-
was just for Ken to be a red herring. Like, that was the only purpose.
Yeah, pretty much. So there's been this Digimon running around in the background for the last 4 movies that that finally decides he's gonna speak up and drop a bunch of exposition. We finally get introduced to Hackmon, who is this white dragon thing with a red cape, and he's been just popping in and out in the background for the last couple of movies, and I don't know why they decided now he's going to be showing up, and he just shows up out of nowhere and then disappears again.
Yeah.
Like, here, info dump. Bye.
Exactly. Yeah, Nishijima is trying to find Himikawa because she's disappeared, and he's looking into her plans to reboot the digital world, and then Hackmon just shows up and says, "Hey, Yggdrasil's a thing. This is why everything's happening. You need to go, help fix this," and then he just disappears.
Okay, what is this what does he represent? What is this homeostasis thing? I don't remember from the old series.
That's not a new. That's a new thing, and I don't understand it because it's basically he was saying something along the lines of Genni has always been the balance between the dark and the light, and there's a lot of Kingdom Hearts-esque bullshittery in this movie. But the homeostasis is supposed to be the balance between the light and the dark in that thing, and I guess that's been messed up again.
There's
so
a
the dark is taking
disturbance in
over.
the force.
Exactly. It's Japanese Final Fantasy whatever. It's dark and they're light and dark can't be one over another. There has to be a balance between the two. I'm okay, sure, why
it's
not?
kind of because the idea of yin and yang is very popular in Japan. And
Yeah.
that's basically it.
Yeah, it's kind of
And,
what I assumed.
and it appears in everything, and I mean everything.
If RPGs have been anything to go off of, that's like the common trope.
She and I look like a freaking Jedi.
Okay, that's exactly. I've been saying that since season 2, because I'm pretty sure, and I don't know if this is true or not. I swear, because Adventure 2 came out a little after Episode 1, so I wonder if they went and saw Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan in the first movie and like, let's just make a character that looks like that. Okay, so the big ending for a lot of these movies have been like, okay, all the old partner Digimon are finally going to go into their mega form. And Biyomon got her turn this time, and she got to finally evolve into Phoenixmon. Am I the only one who feels that entire bit was completely underplayed by the fact that TK and Izzy, Tentamon and Patamon immediately do the same thing right after that?
Yeah. Well, I feel like they padded out the timing too, because we already seen the transformation in the previous movie.
Yeah.
They didn't go into the War Grandma Metal.
Okay. Melanie said the exact same thing, because when Biyomon started doing that, she's like, oh, let's just pad the runtimes. Like, well, Biyomon hasn't done it yet, so we got to sit through her 3-stage thing. That's fine. And like you said, when War Greymon and Metal Greymon showed up, or War Greymon and Metal Garurumon showed up a few minutes earlier, they just like went straight to it. They didn't even do a transformation scene. But Serafimon, I kind of understand. He has shown up before in another movie, like one of the old movies, but we haven't got his transformation this time. But I feel like showing Hercules Kabuterimon off again was completely pointless, because it's like, we got that transformation last movie, so why do we need to see it again? Why does he need to be helping with this? Because I feel like 2 megas is overkill.
Yeah.
Am I the only one who thinks those transformation scenes, they look like the weird 3D models that they use in the Pokemon games? Like that Uncanny Valley?
Yeah.
Only the first one. At least they didn't continue.
For some reason, they decided that all the rookies to champion levels are going to be in 3D, but everything else is going to be 2D. And I've always had that problem with whenever they do that. I mean, it doesn't matter if it was in the first series, the second, or the third, where they do, they pick and choose who's going to be CG and who's going to be hand-drawn. The hand-drawn ones are always better, because the CG never looks good.
Well, I have no problem with the CG, even though it's inconsistent between evolution. What I have the problem with it's the thick line style that they have for only the Digimon, and not in every scene either. That inconsistency bugged me. Like in standstill photo or those publicity things that they put out, those are fine if they use the thick line style. But then you have the thick line style juxtaposed with the regular line style for the human, and that just that's just weird to me.
Yeah, I agree.
And they jump from scene to scene. One scene, there's no thick line around the Digimon. Then another, there's a thick line around the Digimon.
Yeah, it's kind of off and on about what the art style. But like I was saying, with the whole mega transformation in here, I don't understand why Tentamon needed to help at all. I only feel that Patamon got his evolution because they're like, oh, we haven't done his yet, so we gotta put it in here. But I feel like it completely undercuts the meaning of the movie, that they're trying to lead up that like, oh, Sora and Biyomon are rebuilding their relationship, and when they finally get there, that whole culmination of the relationship is supposed to be what gets Biyomon to finally get to their mega. And if you're gonna follow that up immediately with, you know, another 5 minutes of transformation sequences from other characters who just decide, oh, hey, I want to help too, it kind of ruins that whole moment of like, oh, hey, this is a new thing. This is like, you know, a symbolic gesture of our relationship being forged again.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like showing them off seems a bit rushed because they still have 2 more movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are there anyone left? I don't remember. Like,
Kari is the only one who has one left, and they've already spoiled who it's gonna be because a couple of other friends and I have been like going back and forth of like, because Gatomon technically has 2 mega forms that they can possibly go into, and we were wondering if it was going to be Magnadramon, the pink dragon, or if it was going to be Orphanamon. And they already released the poster for the next movie, and it's Orphanamon. So,
See, the last movie is just going to be nothing but transformation scenes.
I'm really hoping the last movie is a little longer than the rest of them, because I actually looked up the run times. This is actually the shortest movie. And I completely see it because it's like nothing really happens in this movie.
Except that wham ending.
Okay, yeah. The ending.
Cliffhanger.
The ending is so like abrupt. Like where they end it, I went and tried to like, is there actually an extra episode on the end of this? It's like,
Yeah.
no, it just ends.
At least with the second one where I cannot say that Digimon's name, May's Digimon. At least there was a whole arc right before it when before she went wild. The whole arc completed, then she went wild. Here, they never resolved this arc. They never.
I mean, so far I think all of the movies have ended at a point where it's like, okay, this is supposed to continue. But I feel like all of them have ended at a point where it's like, it's a scene end.
Yeah.
Where like I don't remember the ending of the first movie. I'm pretty sure that has like a pretty solid cut. But the end of the second movie has Meikumon disappearing into a portal or whatever. And that's like, that'd be the end of a scene. That's fine. And at the end of the last movie, they had that big whammy where it shows Ken transforming into Dark Genni and him talking to Himikawa. That's fine. But this movie literally ends in the middle of a fight scene.
Yeah. Well, the last movie also had the whole reboot thing happen. At least that's the climax. I feel like there wasn't really a climax for this one. The last one had the big arc resolve, and then they just have this whatchamacallit after the climax when they ramp things down. At least that happens. This one didn't. It's literally a cliffhanger.
I completely agree with this. This movie has no climax. It is a series of things happening, and as soon as it's about to ramp up to, the big wham of this movie, it ends.
Yeah.
Because basically the end of this movie ends with Dark Genni, who I'm pretty sure is some kind of child molester or something, because he is getting real handsy. He starts licking people.
Oh,
it's creepy. But basically it makes it look like he's either severely hurt or killed Mei. And Meikumon, who I swear is bipolar or something. This cat is insane. Go ahead.
No, this Meikumon has no consistency in the character. It's really frustrating.
It is frustrating because, like, in this movie, for whatever reason, I think it's because Meikumon was like, I guess, created to be the catalyst for the reboot to work. I guess. So Meikumon still has all of her memories, but she keeps popping in and out very inconsistently in this movie, crying about how Mei left her or something. And as soon as Mei comes to the digital world, for reasons that are never really explained how she got there, she just shows up in the desert and Sora finds her. When Mei and Meikumon finally reunite, Meikumon just flips her shit and just starts attacking her and just like, why did you leave me? You hate me. And it's like, why? Why is this a thing that's happening?
Yeah, one thing I noticed about this movie, it was very jarring, especially in the events. Like, people would appear in one place, people would appear in another. There was no, like, bridge between that. Things would happen and there was no explanation.
Yeah. One of the biggest examples of that, at least I can think of, is like Biyomon and Sora are like walking in the desert together, and they basically have this big fight, and Biyomon's basically being a huge bitch to her and basically telling Sora all of her faults, and like Sora starts crying, and it cuts, And then the next scene starts, and it's just Sora and Biyomon standing over unconscious May in the middle of the desert. It's like, when did that happen?
What about Sora crying?
Okay,
I know, it's like...
when you
Go
guys
ahead, Gary.
watched it, it was in the episodic format, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm wondering if the pacing is different in the theatrical cut. Like, I seriously wonder, because a lot of things it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah, I really wish, whoever is doing the English dub would hurry up and get on with it. But I completely agree with that. I think the pacing is a little different with having to cut it up into episodic formats and like putting in commercial breaks with what is supposed to be a 2-hour movie. Cause I feel like there's a lot of these scenes where it's like they cut for a commercial break and then they come back to it and it's like, what would be the logical scene transition between these two if it was just running as a single movie? It's really kind of jarring and a little confusing at times. So yeah, basically my big takeaway from this movie, it's like, I'm glad that the story is continuing. I'm glad that we're getting some answers and stuff, but honestly, as much as I like Sora's character and, throughout the whole series and stuff, I feel like putting this movie focusing on her, they didn't do enough with it, and when they finally got to the payoff for that, it was completely undersold
So
for
much
what it was.
angst.
I just feel like this movie was a mess.
It was this. I mean,
Oh.
I had problems with the second movie, feeling like that was really a lot of filler and was kind of all over the place. This movie, especially, I felt was filler and was kind of all over the place.
I like the second movie. It's filler, yes, but it's good filler.
Yeah, it's cozy filler where it's like, oh, they go to a spa and they have a school festival. It's like, okay, that's fun. This one is just, it's a series of things happening. Everyone's rebuilding their relationships, and by the end of the movie, we're kind of back where we started at the last movie.
Except whatever her name, she looks kind of dead. But she'll probably get better, so I'm not too worried about that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure everyone will be fine.
Except
I hope.
Except for
Except the second Digidestin.
Yeah, we'll see what happens to them.
I hope they appear in the last movie, by the way, or we get an explanation or something.
My theory is that they'll show up at the last second. Like, I have a feeling that this Yggdrasil bad guy has them captive right now. That's my guess.
Yeah, but you think you hear something about it in the real world.
You'd think so.
Kids go missing and nobody cares.
Yeah.
That's just Japan.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They have none of the older Digidestin have made any kind of, at least from what I remember, have made no remarks to like, oh, hey, we should get these other guys to help us. Wait a minute, they're missing. I mean, the government people are the only ones who were concerned about them being missing. Because they've got files on everybody for some reason.
Also, what was with that government lady, like, choking to Piermon? Like, not choking, but shaking and being like, her eyes went psycho and she's like, remember me, remember me.
Yeah, well, because Tapirmon was her partner back in the day, and like she was putting this whole reboot plan into action, so she basically come back to life. And I think that really messed her up when that happened, because you see they kind of keep flashing back to her childhood where she's like, when that happens, and then like when she's trying to figure out a way to bring him back, you can see that it's like very visibly messed her up. And I will say there was one kind of sweet moment where, because they had referenced in one of the other movies that Himikawa and Nishijima used to be like a couple, and you kind of get to see, the beginning of that, because he basically like confesses up to her, and it was a kind of a sweet moment.
Yeah.
I love that scene. That scene was great. I don't even care about those characters.
I feel like that this entire movie should have just been focused on the Digidestin. All the other part, the adults and the backstory with the 4 sovereign, I feel like they should have saved it for the next movie and focus on that instead.
Yeah.
Because the focus is really split.
Well, I feel like if they had done that, they wouldn't have enough footage to fill a movie.
Yeah, but they
Like,
could have built off more on resolving Sora's and Digimon's conflict. At least this, it's a little southern.
Yeah, like I completely agree. A lot of this movie just needs more. There needs to be a little more explanation to this big mystery. There need to be more character development. And that's not to say I think this movie is bad. I just, at the current standing, I could say this safely. This is probably my least favorite of the four.
I don't think it's bad. It's just the individual pieces don't work together very well to make a working product.
Yeah.
If it's like actually an episodic series, with one episode focused on whoever's backstory, one episode focused on the flashback, that would work. But right now, it's just, since they cut it up in an episodic format while still retaining the whole movie feel, the parts just flies around way too much. There's no focus.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. So do you guys have any closing thoughts or any last whatevers before we wrap it up here?
I'm just curious if it's going to get more bad fanfiction or less bad fanficky. That's my main investment at this point, is I want to see how this ride goes.
Yeah. Gary, do you have anything else you want to say?
Well, the next one better be good, because this one just sort of have a bad taste in my mouth, and they really have to make up for it.
Yeah, I'm completely with that. I think, at least from the poster that they put out, it's going to be focusing on Kari and May. So we'll see how that goes.
I guess it kind of spoils if she's dead or not.
She's not. I think they've been building her up too long to just randomly kill her off.
Yeah.
Like
It's like, you hate this Mary Sue character? Well, bam, she's gone.
Well, I'm wondering if they would actually retcon the entire ending to the series.
Dude,
Because
I seriously hope so, because I hate the ending to the second season. I hate that epilogue.
Unless they somehow like get all of the Digimon's memory back, which I don't know how they're gonna do.
Well, honestly, the fact that this series exists has already retconned that ending, because at the end of season 2, they basically said that after the whole thing with Malomyotismon at the end of season 2, there was nothing bad ever happened ever again. Like, the world got Digimon, everything was at peace forever, everyone grew up and married each other and had kids. Like, that's the end. But by the sheer fact that this exists, completely rewrites that ending.
I know, it doesn't rewrite it. This was just a tiny, tiny, tiny blip, but it's not a bad thing.
It's a footnote. That's why they didn't mention it in the epilogue.
I'm hoping that epilogue gets rewritten, because I've even heard that a lot of the staff writers didn't like that ending. They're like, a producer forced that ending. But we'll see. We've still got another 2 movies to get through. If my sources are correct, I think we're getting another one this summer, which makes me wonder if they're going to finish this series up by the end of the year.
I can hope. I've been on this ride long enough, and it's like, how much longer is it going to be till we finish this thing?
I know,
I'm ready.
Right? I mean, we're 4 movies in. We get one every 6 months. We've been watching this for 2 years almost.
The story has moved too slowly for the 4th movie. I mean, if you look at other movie franchises, the Avengers already assembled. I mean, well, we'll assemble in the next movie.
Yeah, this movie I don't think moved the plot forward enough, so I think that the next movie has a lot of ground to cover. So yeah. Well, I think that just about does it. I think it covers pretty much everything. I hope everyone enjoyed our little discussion on Digimon, and we'd love to know what you thought about the movie. So let us know in the comments below. We'll be back next week with I Don't Know. But be rest assured, when the next Digimon movie comes out, whenever that is, we will be back to review it because I enjoy doing this. But thank you, Gary and Janette, for helping me out this week. It was a big help having someone who is knowledgeable in Digimon as well helping me out.
Thank you.
Yeah. Gary,
No
we're just
problem.
Gary, we're just gonna induct you as the third person since you're on here all the time. or something. I don't know, but yeah. Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll catch y'all next week. Well, see you later.
Goodbye.